So she's got editions published in different languages. She's got slightly different titles. Members took the trouble to take the editions and put them together. Okay? So this is a very librarian-like activity, right? It's using this something much like the concept of Ferber. But the advantage on LibraryThing is when you combine your edition into the larger edition, you get new friends, right? If you've got some obscure edition of Huckleberry Finn and you combine it into Huckleberry Finn, you know, bing, you've got 40,000 new friends, you know? And that's what separates us. Here's Mark Twain. The same has gone on with author names. So Mark Twain is Mark Twain and Samuel Clemens and Quintus Curtius Snodgrass, and all of them have been combined together by members. Here's Harry Potter, okay? Huge amounts of information. And I'm going to jump down to common knowledge. And the idea of common knowledge is, let's get members to help out cataloging the stuff that libraries and booksellers don't, right? Mostly. So the original publication date, people and characters, right? Important places, important events, awards and honors, dedication, quotations. One of my favorite, it's not filled in here, but it is blurbers. You know, when you get pre-release copies and authors give a little blurb for some other author, right? You can actually trace on LibraryThing the back scratching that goes on with blurbing each other's books. And all of this is, you know, pretty much all of this is not captured by traditional bibliographic metadata. Here is some book, The Adventures of Lando Calrissian, which is a Star Wars novel. I don't own it. Here is the series page put together by LibraryThing members. Okay? There are 582 books in the Star Wars series, okay, added by members. Now, actually, a lot of library catalogs will have a series heading for Star Wars. But look over on the right here, the related series. There are 96 related series, sub-series, related series. Star Wars Essential Guides, Star Wars The Rebellion Era, The New Jedi Origin Era, blah, 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 right? 96 of these things, right? This is more accurate information about how Star Wars books relate to each other than any library has ever got, or any librarian has got, and good, right? The people who should be assembling information how the Star Wars world relates to itself are guys who care about Star Wars, you know? They're going to know about that, and it's good to get their, you know, to get their input on that. We also do awards, so you know there's a page for the British Book Awards. I didn't look up New Zealand, but I'm sure there's lots of New Zealand awards. How many books does George Washington occur in? How many books are in Washington, D.C.? You know, the information's partial. I'm sure there's a lot more than 532 books in Washington. But we're coming on 1.6 million edits to the system. It's really becoming quite extensive. Books that take place in Washington, books that take place in hell. Another good category. Here's one of my favorite LibraryThing members. This is Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson famously started the Library of Congress, right, with his books. Scholars have a pretty good idea of what he had. So LibraryThing members, at my instigation, started cataloging his books as if he were just any other member, right? And it blew up. It became this big thing. So they did that. He's got, 5,400 books. Here's John Adams, another American founder. Here's Marie Antoinette. Shares a lot of books with Jefferson, right? Which is not a surprise, but kind of cool to see in place. Alfred Deakin, so he's the only Australian, and there are unfortunately no New Zealanders at the moment. Mozart, Walter Scott, T.E. Lawrence, Yeats, Ernest Hemingway, Ezra Pound, Sylvia Plath, Susan Sontag, John F. Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe, Jackie Gleason. In this case, some of the Hollywood people, their possessions were auctioned off at their death, and the auction house kept good records. Tupac Shakur, famous rapper, shares one book with Thomas Jefferson, Machiavelli's The Prince. And there's a group that does this. They've done about, I See Dead People's Books is the name of the group. They've done about 150, some of them really extensive, thousands and thousands of books, and one or two actually works of scholarship where original work was done to reconstruct somebody's library. Now, all of this really comes around. It's nice to be able to search Jefferson's library, right? And that wasn't possible before. You had to go into a good academic library and find his books, and no school kid would ever do that, right? Now you can, but even better, I can see how I overlap with Jefferson, right? So I share 63 books with Jefferson. I share 33 books with C.S. Lewis, right? John Adams, I get this window into these authors that I know that's really quite unique. Sometimes, like Hemingway and I share a bunch, but one of the weird things about Hemingway is he had a lot of books about fishing and bullfighting. You kind of expect that, but it's really amazing to see how many books he had about bullfighting. The most popular book among all the legacy libraries is Don Quixote. It's a great example of something. It's stayed popular for a long time, and that was enough to put it in the top. Anyway, the highest level of the ladder, the last rung, is cooperative, collaborative cataloging. And LibraryThing members have gotten together on about a dozen occasions to catalog some library suddenly. We call it flash mob cataloging. So we showed up at the Audubon Society in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and cataloged their library, 2,700 books, in a day. It took about 20 people. And it's a lot of fun. And many of them were librarians, but not all of them. And we've done churches, we've done historical societies, academic departments, and that's new. That's something that's never really happened before. Okay. 6 free ways you can use LibraryThing. Go make sure you're in LibraryThing Local and add a photo to that. Go make an account. You can connect with your patrons who are using it now. You can spotlight new stuff. You can make a widget to put on your homepage to show off some new books or a particular collection. I would love to do libraries of early New Zealand. We've got a lot of early American ones. New Zealand is great because the reading history of New Zealand happens, in the full light of day. The books of people who founded New Zealand, they're not even valuable yet. And there ought to be all kinds of really good information about what early governors and settlers were reading. And I think it would be great to be able to see that all together. So you could also set up flash mobs. There are so many. LibraryThing's goal is to expose the world of books as never before. And there are, you guys don't think of them as libraries necessarily, but there are church libraries and small historical societies and health centers, and they've all got libraries, and now they can actually have an OPAC, and it's basically free. You can also do something called a community library, which is where a bunch of different small libraries, people and or organizations, join together in a LibraryThing group. And the ideal form of this is you get some rural community, and you get a LibraryThing group going, and it's 2 churches, the Historical Society, a couple people in town, and in a small community, you can share that information. And if somebody wants to know who has a book, you can just find out right away. And I think that would be great. And then grab our free data. So there's a lot of our data is free. All of the common knowledge data is free. All of the Ferberized information is free. So these are 6 free ways to use LibraryThing. Here is one unfree way to use LibraryThing. That is a product called LibraryThing for Libraries. I am not here to sell it, so I will show you 2 screens rapidly. But it is my vision of what the library catalog can do in the future. And I think it's great. Here is LibraryThing for Libraries, librarything.com/for-libraries. Oh, God, I hate OPACs. All right, here we go. They always expire. Okay. So here is Seattle Public Library in Seattle, and they have LibraryThing for Libraries. And it's added all this stuff down here. So other editions and translations. That solves the other edition problem in a catalog. Someone comes in, all of this, these copies, all of these copies are checked out. But in a normal library catalog, you would not know that they have it in a sound recording, another edition, I don't even know what that edition is, and they have it in Spanish, right? So instantly you're providing more access. We have similar